Bringing everything back to the breath is key for emotional, physical, mental regulation. In this episode of the R.Y.S.E Movement podcast, I'm joined by my friend Chris. We just slapped some microphones on us, put the camera on, and said, let's see what comes up. This was a really interesting conversation. This is a piece of content that we're using where he can use it for his men's growth stuff. I can use it for my ecosystem in the R.Y.S.E Movement, because talking about regulation, talking about breath work, talking about all these amazing things, this is what we do here. And the R.Y.S.E Movement isn't the R.Y.S.E Movement with me, it's with everyone. And so a lot more collaborations coming with Chris, a lot more collaboration is coming with other great minds and friends and people in this great ecosystem, in this great land of Earth. This conversation was cool. I got to learn a lot about Chris, and I hope you guys do as well. Keep an open mind and understand that everything comes back to the breath. Through awareness of the breath, through awareness of your nervous system, and what's the story that's coming up for you. Enjoy this podcast. Enjoy this episode of the R.Y.S.E Movement podcast with Chris Farthing. Thanks, guys. Welcome to the R.Y.S.E Movement podcast, a place where legends just like you learn how to raise your standards every day.
Yet I knew that it was true, and it was a knowing deep in me, because from the breath and it's the quickest way to come back to self, to control your own environment. And it's the beautiful thing about it is it's not learning anything. I can maybe learn a technique, sure, but it's a remembrance. Or for me anyway, and I can talk into this for me, however I've had this shared with a lot of people, some of the basic fundamentals of breathing, of longer exhales for calming yourself down, longer inhales for speeding yourself up, to oversimplify the shit out of it, right? It is something that everyone can do, and then feel it, and then it not feel like it's a new thing, right? The practice of breath awareness, or the practice of different techniques, that then is, yes, like, okay, I now know how to, then it can become into its own thing. Then there are great mystics and great people out there in the world now that can, like Wim, he's got his technique, because he utilized a technique that he just used and then took it to a whole nother level. Simplified some old Vedic, like old freaking forms of breath, and made it, basically hijacked it to be utilized in a fast world that we're in now, that the everyday person can pick it up in something as quick as 30 breaths and do a breath hold. And perhaps and then use the power of 3. What if we do 3 rounds of that and then see how you feel? And then what if you did that again another time? And notice that maybe it was easier the next time, or maybe it was harder. What else is in your external environment, or maybe your internal environment, that made it harder? Where you have more food in your belly, right? Have you had a stressful couple of weeks at home, in your work, or in your environment, right? Maybe your body's in a higher level of stress, so then using a breath like Wim Hof, which is of its nature larger inhales, less exhales, so it's about having lots of oxygen in your cells and actually having less carbon dioxide, it is basically a fight and flight response, right? And going that to the antipathy level, right? And then you could go the other level of meditation, like, some yogis or Buddhists and something, where it's extremely long exhales, to the point that monks and that sort of thing can stop their heartbeat, slow their heartbeat down. I've done this sort of thing in a hospital for fun, right? So I knew already that I could do these things myself, because I could feel it. However, I remember a time a few years ago now, it'd probably be probably 6 years ago now. I was training and I'd injured myself, right? I received a kick, but I was at a wrong range and copped a knee to the groin, right? and resulting in myself, cutting the short story super short, resulting in me having a ruptured testicle and being in hospital, right? Now, all the processes leading up to that had the initial thing happen where I'd made a fundamental mistake where I chose not, one day I didn't have my cup for sparring, and I was like, I'll be right. I've been training now like 6-7 years, I'll be fine, I can do it. And didn't do a couple of other fundamental rules too. Knowing I didn't have a cup, had this overconfidence, like I'll be fine. And I sparred with everyone like I normally would when I have a cup on, at all levels. As with knowing that I didn't have my cup on, maybe I could have helped alleviate risk by choosing certain people and only go with certain skill levels, right? But I did what I normally do, well, especially what I did a lot then, a lot of fawning and just train with everyone. I like that, but also there's a part of me unconsciously that doesn't want someone to feel left out, and I want to share something with them as well. So I was training with people of all levels. I got a beautiful switch kick, way too close, copped a knee directly to my testicles, right? Felt like a bad groin shot. I was hurt, and I was like, oh, like it was like the very typical, like down to the ground, using my breath, calm my nervous system, did all the things, right? Slowed my heart. I was like, oh, I feel okay. Kept training. Got kicked in the nuts another 2 times in the next round by someone else who was at a higher level. But just because I was so, as you know, I'm sure from training, if you're trying to overcompensate for an injury, you're going to hurt that injury. When really everything in your environment and your body's telling you to stop, but you're like, your own monkey mind is like, nah, I can do one more round. It's all good, right? I'll do one more round. I could probably see now there's probably a trauma response that I was in, that I didn't want this, really want to do a round with this person, didn't want to tell them no, I wasn't as much wasn't okay to say no as much to people. So I just said yes.
Didn't want to let down your coach.
Didn't want to let down, or didn't want to let down a training partner. It wasn't even a coach, it was a training partner. Didn't want to let down a training partner. So I said yes, and then got kicked twice more. And then I was like, okay, that's a no.
Yep.
Right? And then environment again, right? Another brother who'd recently had it happen at a fight. And he spoke to me about it. He'd come over to console me. He was a good brother, and he shared his experience with what had happened with him. And like, you know, is there bruising, swelling, you know, these sorts of things. And I go and check everything, and I'm like, oh, a little bit of swelling, but no cut. He's like, oh, bro, mine colour up straight away. Like, tell me his whole story, right? Mine didn't have any of those symptoms. Okay, all right, I'll go home. All right, went home. And at that time, I was using cannabis daily. So I went home and I was in pain, and I was like, I'll self-medicate with cannabis. It'll relax me even more. Be a bit of a pain relief. Cool. Had my cannabis. I noticed I felt a bit more relaxed. Extremely sensitive to touch. Well, not. It wasn't actually sensitive to touch. It was just like an achy pain that was constantly there, right? And I even masturbated in the shower. Oh, it works. I'm able to pee. I'm able to come. There's no blood. No, like, because there's like warning signs. Everyone told me that, oh, you know, if there's blood in your urine, like this, go to hospital right now. Like all these sorts of things. Big coloration, go to hospital right now. I had none of those things. And I was like, it's probably just bruising. Probably just soreness, right? Yeah, he'll be right. Woke up the next day, I couldn't stand up straight, right? Standing up, I looked like a crooked old man. I was like this, right? Couldn't stand like this. And I'm at work, and I was sitting at the desk that day. It was a day that I wasn't out and about. So I was like, oh, it's okay. It's a cruisy day. I'm in the office. I can just, again, in my head, the story was these external things aren't happening, so I'm okay, right? And thankfully, using my breath, my nervous system was really regulated. I was like, I'm okay, right? Anyway, and then it was about 2:00 in the afternoon, and it had been a busy day on office, emails and stuff like that. I went up to go get a drink, and my boss at the time saw me, and he's like walking back and forth, and he finally chose to say something. He's like, bro, you okay? Oh, no, man, I'm okay. And he's like, no, what's wrong? Like, you're not standing straight. And I'm like, yeah, I sort of can't stand up straight. He's like, for him, alarm bells, right? What do you mean you can't stand up straight? Knowing that I train and I'm quite fit and healthy, and that I do train Muay Thai as well. So he knew all this sort of stuff. He's like, what do you mean? And he has a background in training as well. What do you mean? Oh, bro, I copped a knee. I don't, told him the whole story. Copped a kick, that was a knee, rah, rah, rah. And he's like, go, now. Go to the doctor, now. I'm like, oh, no, it'll be fine. He's like, no, you ring the doctor now, ring one, find one that can take you right now and just go. Forget work, go. It was already like 3:30 at this point. And he's like, why don't you fucking tell me, go into that story. Why didn't you tell me, just go. Anyway, I get doctor's surgery 4 o'clock. They close at 5. Get in there at 4 o'clock, go and see the doc. He, drop your pants, has a little feel and goes, go get an ultrasound now. I'm like, what? He's like, I'll call them. They close at 5 o'clock. It's now like by 4:30-ish. By the time I finally got, you get to doctor, you got to wait, do the whole thing, right? It's now 4:30. Go now. Fuck, okay. I get to the ultrasound. They do an ultrasound. You go to hospital. What? Oh, from what we've seen in the imagery, go to hospital now. Oh, really? Okay. Go to Robina now. Here, we printed them off. Here's your ultrasound. And they were hot. Like the films were still hot, right? Go now. I get to Robina. I go to Robina Hospital because it was closest. I was working in Burleigh. Go to Robina Hospital. I sit in there and I hadn't taken any pain relief, right? And I get there and I show the X. I go to the counter, the emergency, and I tell the lady what's happened. I've had received a testicle thing. I've gone to see the doctor. Doc sent me to get an ultrasound. Ultrasound said, come here right now. Here they are. And she's like, oh, they're still hot. I said, yeah, you told me to come right here, right now, like emergency style. She goes, oh, okay. Through her grate, she goes, I'm going to hand these in straight away. And she took them straight out the back to the doctor, right? Came back and goes, oh, have you had any pain relief? You must be in pain. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's like an ache. Oh, I'm sorry. And she's in her own story. Oh, I'm sorry. All I can give you is Panadol. Right? And I said, oh, thank you. That'd be great. I hadn't had anything, right? Oh, okay, thank you. I took Panadol and I was like, oh, cool. I feel okay. I'm sitting down. When I was sitting down, I was noticeably okay, right? I was okay. Well, I'm fine. I'm just breathing calmly, And the doctors come out and they're like, oh, where's Christopher? Whereabouts? I'm here. We don't have an oncologist on staff. Southport's the one that we can organise an ambulance transfer for you to Southport Hospital. And I'm like, what? I know, we want you to go to Southport now. They've got oncology. They're going to need to do another ultrasound. This ultrasound's not 100% perfect, right? And they're all like urgenty. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, how did you get here? I'm like, I drove. I'll just drive to Southport. They're like, oh no, we can organise an ambulance. I'm like, how long? Like, if you want me to go, I could get there. I could be there in 15, 20 minutes. It's just from Robina to Southport. I could be there in 20 minutes. I'll drive the speed limit and stuff, but I'll be there in 20 minutes. Okay. You sure you're okay to drive? Are you sure you're okay to drive? Are you sure you're okay I'm fine. The lovely lady here's just giving me a Panadol. I actually feel fine now. Like, the Panadol that kicked in and I was like, I'm even calmer. I'm like, I feel fine. Anyway, get to the hospital and typical hospital stuff, they get you to repeat your story every 10 minutes, right? I'm sitting there, they hook me up straight away. They're like, you may need a drip, you may need to go into surgery. So straight away they put the thing in ready for a drip and they put like the heart rate monitors and stuff on me, right? And I'm sitting there in the hospital bed and now like I've had a Panadol and in my mind, the story I'm telling myself is now I'm at hospital. I'm at Southport Hospital. The oncologists are here, surgeons are here, emergency rooms, just like operating theatres just around the corner. The best of the best doctors are here. I'm sweet. I'm in full surrender mode now. I'm like, whatever needs to happen, happens. And that's where I'm at, right? So I'm just like relaxing. And then I notice that I'm starting to feel a bit cool. Everyone knows the hospitals are cold as shit. And so I go, oh, well. And I looked over at the heart rate monitor and I was training 6 days a week at this time. And my heart rate was sitting at like 53, right? And I was like, that's pretty cool. I wonder. I started playing with it. So I just start like in 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Shorten my inhales, in, 2, 3, and exhale just going like 10, 12, 15. Heart rate starts dropping. Heart rate then hits like 40, right? And it starts beeping. I start laughing, it pops back up, right? Nurses come over. Oh, your heart rate's really low and your body temperature looks a bit cold. I'm like, yeah, it is a bit cool. Like, it's aircon, I'm here and you've already got me dressed in a pre-surgery gown. So I've got just a gown on and I've got a thin sheet on me. Yeah, that'd be cool. I'll be heart rate's dropping. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's all right. They all leave, right? The nurses leave. I go back to playing with it again. Right? I'm like, oh, I wonder how low I can get it. Get it down to like 36 beats a minute, right? And it's sitting there, it's beeping, alarming, and it's at 36 beats a minute. And I'm like, yeah, I feel good. In no pain whatsoever, because I'm in full surrender. Full surrender. I know that if I need to go to surgery, anything has happened, I'm sweet. I'm just laying there, and I'm bored because everything takes ages at a hospital now. So I'm just like, this is my fun time. I'm like playing with my breath. And I lost count of where my count was. My intention was just low and slow exhales and just relax and calm, but stay conscious without going to sleep, right? Because I need to talk to doctors and everything like that. And the heart rate's at like 30 something. I stopped looking at it when it was at like 36, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Fuck, I didn't realize I was that fit. Okay, that's cool. Anyway, the nurse comes back with a doctor. Doctor, he's... And the doctor comes in, I sit up, and so then my heart rate comes back up to like 40 something within a couple of beats. He's like, and he saw it, I think he saw it at like 38 or something, and then it came up to like 40 something. It's probably now sitting at like 48. I'm just breathing. I'm not even aware of my breath now, so it's just gone back into automatic mode, right? So I'm sitting at like 40 something. And he looks at me and he's asked me to tell him the story. I tell him the story, so then, again, I'm assuming my heart rate sort of leveled out a bit more. And then he's like, oh, how much do you train, man? And I'm like, 6 days a week. He's like, okay. And I'm like, 2-3 hours a day, 6 days a week. And he's like, oh. I'm like, yeah, no Muay Thai. I don't want Muay Thai. I'm like, kickboxing. He's like, okay. I'm like, yeah, like no joke, 2-3 hours a day, 6 days a week, man. Like I have Sundays off. And he's like, he's fine. Like the doctor's like, he's fine, leave him alone. Oh, but his heart rate's meant to be, he's fine. Because I looked over, because she goes, his heart rate, and I look over, and my heart rate was at like 48 or something, or 52. It was like high 40s, low 50s. And she's like, oh, it's meant to be between 60, or I think she said something like 60 or 70 something, and like 100 and something. And he's down here, he's fine, right? And then the nurse comes, like they're all like, oh, well, the surgeon will be around. He's like, oh, we're going to have to get you to, they tell me, you're going to have to get another ultrasound, and then the surgeon's going to come around and have a chat with you. And I'm like, cool, man, epic. Is there anything you need? You need any more? Oh, man, don't need pain. I'm sweet. Because again, I'm in this full surrender mode. And then again, the nurse comes back and checks. I'm like, how are you going, Chris? Oh, your heart rate seems very low, and you seem a bit cool. I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Again, the whole thing, I'm like, I'm fine. I'm okay, right? Then the surgeon comes in, and what I witnessed to the surgeon came in. Surgeon was like the hot boy walking in school. The surgeon walks in. He would have been probably about my age at the time, like early 30s or late 20s. He would have been probably early 30s. Maybe he was late 30s, but looked early 30s. So like what I do now, like I'm late 30s, and if I was clean shaven, look early 30s. So like fit and healthy, right? He walks in, and all the nurses, everyone's like frothing over him, mate. It was like the hot boy at school.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, doctor, like all over the, and I'm like, what's it? Because I noticed him because of that. I'm looking out, sort of just noticing everyone coming and going. I'm in like a pre-surgical ward, so it's no longer emergency. It's like chilled. And they've already told me I'm going to have to go to, like I said, ultrasound and then surgery. May have to get surgery. He comes, and I'm witnessing this man walk in, and then everyone's going, all the women, all the younger nurses, everyone's attracted to this bloke, right? And I'm just like, okay, this is interesting. And then he comes over and he's like, how you going, mate? And he's calm and casual as like a bloke, like your mate. And I was like, good, man, good. And he's like, oh. And the nurses again, straight away, man. Like I didn't even get a chance to, oh, mate, can you tell me what happened? They're the doctors alike. They just want you to repeat everything. I know that's like an acuity thing to make sure you're mentally okay and the story hasn't changed, all that sort of stuff, right? But they're just asking me to do that. At this point, I'm a little bit frustrated, but I'm like, he introduces himself as the surgeon. So I'm like, okay, I'll tell you the story again. Because I've already told like 3-4 nurses the same story and a doctor. And now I've got the actual surgeon. Okay, I'll tell him my story again. Tell him the whole story again. She's, he's like, looks at her blankly in the face. I'll never forget this. Looks at her and goes, he's fine. Think about an Olympic athlete. Think about a marathon runner. They can have their heart rate resting in the 30s, in the 40s. It is where it'll be. It is perfectly fine. I do not want you to mention his heart rate to me again unless it spikes above 170 or something like this, or drops below 20 or something. And she's like, what? And he's like very stern with her at this point about it. And she's like, but, and he's like and then he looks back at me and he tells me the whole thing. And it was the most fucking funny experience of my whole life, of that whole thing. And then throughout that, I go have I'll finish the story. I go have the ultrasound, then come back up. Then I go going into surgery, and then they get you to sign the paperwork and all this stuff, right? In case you die and all that sort of stuff, right? Basically, if you're not sure and read what it says. It says like if you die, and the surgeon said to me that like worst case scenario, you may lose the whole testicle. But I'm going to go in there. My intention is just to remove the part that's ruptured, and then sew it all back up, so that testis back up and be all good. And tell me a full worst case scenario, if you've lost that one testicle, it will mean that we do highly recommend then no more contact sports, no extreme sports, because your body, one testicle will take over from the other, one testis will take over from the production of sperm and everything. However, now you've only got one. So if anything happens to that one, hormones, everything can be in trouble, basic science. Give me a little mini science shit, right? Cool, thanks doc. Went into surgery. I remember coming out of surgery and I'm in the room, they wheel you into the aftercare room and just a bit groggy, opening up my eyes, and there's all like 6-7 people around me, and I look to make eye contact with the surgeon, and I remember vividly all I said was, hey doc, do I still have 2? And he goes, yeah bro, still got 2. I'm like, thanks mate.
Fuck yeah.
To then wake up in the morning and then they ask, I need to go to the toilet, and they're like, oh, do you want the bottle? And I'm like in the weird position that you're sitting. I'm like, this is just going to get messy and going to get low of me. Can I get up? I'll go check for you. Fucking hurry up. They go and check. Oh, if you just support your book. Okay, cool. Are you in pain? No. I'm not in any pain. Do you want pain meds? No, I'm fine. Anyway, then the surgeon's going to come in and check on you. Surgeon comes in and check on me, and he's like, how you going, mate? I'm like, good, man. He's like, oh, I heard you went to the bathroom. I said, yep. Any pain or anything? No, man, all good, great. I'm surprised there's not much pain or anything. And he's like, nah, all good. Everything went well. And then he goes, you want a picture? I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, man. I'll send it to you. What's your phone number? And I was like, fuck yeah. Give him my phone number. Next thing you know, I got a text message from the surgeon. He's like, because I got to delete it off my phone. It's got to be put in the records, and it's got to be deleted off my phone. However, do you want a copy? And I was like, yes. So now I have a copy of my testicle that in the operating theatre of myself with him holding my it's called a testis. It's just one. He's just holding on to one of my testes, the one that he ruptured, like showing it. He's got someone take a photo of it with his phone. I was like, thank fuck for technology. It's a cool photo. Yeah. So yeah, and that for me, then from that point on, I then had like a full it was like everything knowing, yeah, we can control our whole nervous system. And like, obviously I'd done all the research on Wim Hof and all the other stuff, and Dan Belay and other beautiful, and I'd done breathwork training and all this sort of stuff. But now I had real world evidence of, at least at the minimum, I could control blood pressure and heart rate through my breath. And from that, what else can I do with my breath?
Yep.
I was like, yeah. So it was like my fun way of testing it in the sciencey world, bro.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, it was, and it's a great story also that I've used with a lot of training partners that don't wear boxes. Right, wear a steel cup. Right, they're like $30 for an expensive one. It's the cheapest piece of equipment you can buy. Mm-hmm. Compared to shin guards, gloves, wraps are the only thing that's cheaper.
Yep.
Hand wraps. Everything else, your first pair of gloves, everything else is going to cost you more than a groin guard. Then buy a mouth guard. Even just a cheap fucking $10 dentist one, $10 fucking melt one, yep, is better than nothing. Because you're going to, at the minimum, you're going to prevent biting your own tongue or something like that, or like your teeth getting smashed. Mm-hmm. So yeah, as well as like it then turned into a big teaching piece. Because that's another thing, right? To go on it, like, is that for me anyway? When I learn something and then I learn it and I'm excited. The initial phase for me, I learn it and then I get super excited about it and I turn to a bit of a parrot and I want to tell everyone about it. And then I'll go through the integration phase, and then it's integrated to a fact. Then it's just like a way of life, right? And then when I talk about it, then it'll come in with, you know, more things, right? So initially when I told people about breath work, it was this excited phase. I was excited about it. I'd had these experiences. I had an experience likened to, not DMT, but likened to maybe MDMA, but different, like just love, consciousness, being connected to other people and feeling love for myself and witnessing the room in almost a mushroomy type movement world where everything's love through breath. So so I'm excited, right? I want to let people know that you can do this stuff through breath. You don't have to use illegal substance. You don't have to do it, you know, go to a shaman or do these sorts of things or travel to the other side of the world or worry about, you know, people's intentions behind things, or, you know, these sorts of medicines need to have a certain reverence that are to be held. And not everyone has these medicines at a reverence like that. So there is other energies and there's things at play. And when you open these doors, there's other things that come in. And you can Google right now, ayahuasca, freaking worst case scenarios, and people die, right? It is a fact and the cause of death is different. However, some people do die. There's an end result. If you're just going to go black and white, some people have it and they die. Some people have had mushrooms and they've died, right? No one has ever died from cannabis, right? Ever. Just throwing that one out there. However, every other thing, there's like someone's died. There's a lethal amount that if you have over this much, there's a lethal dose. I can't remember the exact term of it, but you know, in medicine, right? If you have over this much of this much, it's OD and death, right? Breath work. Again, there's some fundamental reverence stuff to do, right? Make sure that you're either seated or laying down. Because then the worst thing that can happen to you during the breathing when you're doing it is that you will lose consciousness and fall asleep in the initial stages, right? However, when you're initially doing stuff, like anything, if you just go and pick up dumbbells and start throwing them around, what's going to happen? You're going to get hurt. If you just go and start throwing punches on a heavy bag and you've never thrown a punch before in your life, you're going to get hurt. Same thing can happen with anything. Same thing in driving a car. Same thing can happen with breathing. If you're just going into it and going, I'm going to breathe hard and fast, or I'm going to do whatever, or I'm going to copy it and I'm going to do something where I'm not even watching a video, or I don't have a sitter, they call it in breathing, it's called a sitter, someone holding space, but it's a sitter. If you don't have that available to, even if it's a friend that's just going to sit there and watch you, doesn't know anything about breath work, but they're going to sit there and be like, hey man, I'll sit and watch. And you know, if something ever did happen that maybe you fell off the couch and banged your head, or maybe I noticed you weren't breathing for any reason, I can call 000, or I can, you know, someone on 000 can then guide me through to get you breathing again, or whatever, right? Because these things can happen and have happened with people doing breath work as well. Without going into that deeper side of it, there is traumas that are stored in the body, right? There is energy that's blocked in the body, and you open up these energy pathways. Some things can be released and things can be blocked. The body can go into a trauma response, and if the trauma is that heavy that the body doesn't know how to deal with it, it'll be shut off everything. That true flight, freeze. It'll freeze everything to the fact that you're not breathing, that nothing's happening. And if you're just there by yourself, or there's like experiences of like, or maybe you're connecting with the divine or whatever, and then you choose to go. Now, to you, as the person doing the breathing, that might have been the most beautiful, peaceful thing in the world, and now you're in this beautiful world of no longer here in this physical plane. However, to your environment and everyone else around you, Steve was doing breathing, now Steve's dead, he's not breathing anymore, he's not coming back.
Yep.
That's a reality of this physical world too, right? There are mystics and greats that spoke about doing that consciously, right? Choosing to leave this plane, right? And you and I have both had conversations about different ways, and people have done that sort of stuff, right? However, that can be done. People have attained that through breath. And yogis have attained that in putting themselves in deep meditation, and then they don't move for, crazy, 60 days, a year, sort of thing. No food, no water, no nothing, right? And yet their body is still physically there, right? And they'll come back into it, and some do, some don't, right? There's lots of different ways on that. So again, if you're going, the caveat with anything is breath awareness, everyone and anyone can do. Basic fundamental play of extend your heart, like extend your exhale, extending your inhales a little bit, play a noticing game. Notice how it feels, notice what feels uncomfortable, and listen to your body. If it feels super uncomfortable, stop. Right? Big caveat with anything, right? That little urge to be like, oh, it doesn't quite feel right, listen to that, right? Maybe the pain comes up, right? Maybe something comes up for you, maybe whatever, something comes up, listen to that, right? Same as when you're hitting the heavy bag your first time ever and your wrist goes, oh, that was a bit sore. Don't keep hitting it, right? Same thing, maybe I need to go talk to a coach, maybe there's something I'm doing wrong. Same thing with breathing, right? Same thing with anything in life is being able to be humble enough to ask for help.
Yep.
I'm noticing, and the asking for help can be as simple as, I'm noticing this. Are you able to help me with this? Without a story.
Yep.
Is the easiest way to ask for help for anything. I'm noticing I'm struggling with this. Have you experienced this before? It's a good question to ask. Or are you able to assist me with this? Or what suggestions could you have for this? Yep. And that is like a rule you could use for anything, right? The first time you do anything. You want to change job? Great, find someone else that's changed their job, right? Want to leave a partner, that maybe it's an abusive relationship or a relationship where you're not happy? Talk to someone that's done that before, right? We have the availability now with the internet. We can Google search that and find other people. Find someone that has that. Search your Instagram. Maybe you'll find one of your friends in your network that actually has a little bit of experience in that. Ask them a question. And then if you're not sure with the answer they give, ask another person. Like, we have this availability to do that. And it going from curiosity, dropping any judgments and going, I wonder, oh, fuck, I'm really struggling to pay this back this way. Maybe there's another way I can make money. Right? I know you've had guys on talk about cryptos and that sort of thing. I'm not sure about cryptos. Talk to other people. Go down the rabbit hole of listening to a whole bunch of different podcasts of people for and against. We have that option now that we can use in this time right now. I feel there is no excuse if you have access to a telephone that has internet access. There is no excuse you can have for why you are choosing to be in a certain thing if you know it's not serving you.
Yep.
If you have enough awareness that something is not serving you and you don't like it and you really want to change it, you have enough availability in your fingertips to research other ways to change things. And if you can tell me the bullshit that you don't have time, it just means it's not a high priority. That's all the saying of I don't have time means, that it's not a high enough priority to you. And breathing will be that thing that you go, I don't have time, or that's too much, I don't have time to do that. Great. Wait until you come and see me when you're having an asthma attack. Wait until you come and see me because you're friggin' in hospital and they're talking about doing a lung transplant. Or wait until someone's like, oh, we're going to have to put you on a respirator. Your health is like, no one cares about their health until it's in front of their face.
Yep.
All right? And what if you could enter it from curiosity?
Yeah. Yeah. Invest in curiosity.
Yeah.
Or pay later.
Yeah, man. And you can, and that cost of entry now is so low. It's never been this low. In the past, you'd have to travel maybe to another country to go see a breath mystic or to go see a specialist in a field. You can jump on your phone now and jump on and have a look at Andrew, talk to Andrew Huberman direct, email him, message him direct, or look at his abundance of content that he has online to all the topics under the world, right? You can do that for anything. You can go to, like, you could go to Aubrey, you can go to, like, I could rattle off like a million different people on different things. You can go to, like, the best MMA fighters in the world, the best friggin' speech therapists in the world, the best actors, they all have a social media platform, or their coach has a social media platform, or their best mate has, or maybe someone just underneath them has a social media or has a website that you could find as simple as a Google search for 99% of the stuff, realistically, that can at least start the ball rolling.
Yep.
Right? From that place of curiosity. Oh, I wish I could lose a bit more weight, but I've tried this and that didn't work. Great. So you've tried that and that didn't work. Well, that didn't work then is also a thing. Like you could look at the environment and when you tried it then, and maybe that thing didn't work. Cool. Maybe there's another way you can do it. Right? There's another option. Rather than going, oh, I tried weight loss and it didn't work. Or I tried dieting and it didn't work. Maybe because you tried dieting. Right? Have you thought about maybe changing the way you eat? Have you thought maybe because you were weight loss, so it implies that you're losing a part of yourself? What if you did weight release? Where you released unneeded weight. A lot of excess weight is not feeling safe in your body, so your body holds on to it. Because when we're bigger, go back to LORE, when you're bigger in nature, the animals that are bigger are perceived to be of more threat. Right? In certain cultures, if you had a big belly, the Buddha belly in China was perceived a man of great wealth because the only way he got food was from donations. So if you have a big belly, he must be someone of great wealth because he has a big belly. Right? So there's also cultural things that come into it on different levels.
Yep.
Right? And then, a big thing that one of my mentors shared with me is the reframe on weight loss to weight release. Because loss implies that you're losing something, which implies that you want to get something back.
Yep.
And so then, if you're losing a part of yourself, even saying that out loud sounds stupid.
Yeah, you're no longer whole. You're now fragmented.
Yeah, right. So releasing the excess weight, releasing a thought pattern, releasing a belief structure that I had, releasing a connection to a relationship, releasing an attachment to a job, releasing an attachment to money. You can choose to release. And what does nature tell us? That energy can never be stopped. It is always moving. So energy can never be stopped or destroyed. It is always transmitting and moving, right? So I fucked up that quote a little bit, but anyway, principles there. So if you release something, you're simultaneously allowing for something else to come in. Cool, I release something, and then I can allow something. Now I'm allowing for something else to come in. So perhaps I'm releasing weight, and I'm allowing for strength to come in. You could look at it that way, right? You could look at it that I'm releasing an attachment to a certain food, and I'm allowing for a healthy friggin' love of cooking, or a love of reading labels, right? Looking at the ingredients list. And again, in this world, we have that everything has this beautiful dichotomy that swings back and forth, and the pendulum swing, right? And it can go too far one way and too far another. And the trick is, and the fun part is to notice that. Play that noticing game, like the noticing of your breath, the noticing of what's coming up for you, the noticing, I'm noticing, every time I go to buy something, I'm looking at the label. How is this serving me?
I'm noticing the time.
Great. Time is a thing that
Holy crap.
is something we choose to play with.
Holy crap. Where did the last 2 hours go?
What?
We started this at just before 11:30, I'm pretty sure.
What's the time now? 1:30.
1:30. I got work to do, sadly, because I want to continue this.
That's okay. That's all right. These conversations we can continue on. We can have many more. And fucking great conversation.
Fuck, it goes quick. Holy shit.
I went deep in a rabbit hole.
Yep. Thank you, my bro. Thank you, everyone. Holy shit.
I was always going to say to you at the start.
Thank you for being with me today. Thank you for subscribing and leaving a review. It really helps us out. Until next time, take care and much love.